What is going on, everyone? I wanted to take a minute to address the many people who have reached out to me regarding the 2020 presidential election. I promised many of you that I would get a video out with my thoughts and on some of the things I went back and forth on Messenger with some people about what people aren't talking about. So I wanted to give it a few days to let everything settle and let a lot of the theories come out and things like that. So if you are tuning in from somewhere in the United States, let me know what city and state you are tuning in from. If you are tuning in from outside of the United States, please let me know where you are tuning in from. Country, region. Have you been watching this debacle? All right, so let's get into it. Thank you all. I know some of you are loyal watchers of the channel, of the podcast, so thank you for that. So let's get into it. So I've been thrown a lot of different theories from both people, which is nice because I like that people on the left and the right reach out to me for my insight. And of course, some people on the left are extreme and I dismiss them. And some people on the right are extreme and I dismiss them. So as all of you know, I like to keep it in the middle using common sense, which isn't that common, so I call it uncommon sense. And so I'm going to give you my thoughts and my insight. So right now, there are many theories going on, floating around out there about how the election was rigged. Corruption, fraud, voter fraud, all the stories, people with bags of ballots showing up in the middle of the night and all this stuff. Listen, all of that, which some of it's speculation, some of it's true, but all of that goes out the window if from a legal standpoint, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just the bottom line. Now, is that right? Is that just? Is that fair? No. But let's not forget, for 3 years, the Democrats were trying to prove that Trump colluded with Russia to influence his election and his winning the presidency. So they were yelling, screaming, fraud, interference, what have you. And they went through the proper legal channels. They conducted an extensive investigation, and they ultimately found that there was no interference from Russia. Okay. And that was a legal process, all right? Special counsels, investigators, the whole nine. So now here we are, where the right is saying there was interference, there was fraud, what have you. Now the question is, will it take another 3 years to determine that there was in fact fraud or there was not fraud? My opinion is that every election has some degree of fraud. Is it on the level that they're talking about now? I don't know. But I think we can all agree that when it comes to presidential elections, there's always probably been some degree of fraud. Now, the things that people can't deny are the cold, hard facts that have come out. Now, if you are someone that cannot accept and does not believe cold, hard facts, well, then something is off in your mind and your thinking. You're jaded, you have, this derangement syndrome, whatever it might be, whatever you want to call it. If you do not believe stone cold facts, and you put your opinions and your emotion and your feelings above facts, well, then you are not in the right frame of mind to have a discussion or make a decision about this. Now, what are some of the things I'm talking about? I had some discussions with some people on the left, and I have friends who are on the left. And I said to them, well, what about the thousands of votes that were cast by dead people? And this is a fact. This has come out as fact that votes were. Now, let me stop there. This is not the first time in history that dead people have voted for a president. This has happened for decades. This is not the first election, right? But people are making a big deal of it now as if it's never happened before. People, it happens every election cycle. Every election cycle. When Trump won the presidency, there were dead people that voted for Donald J. Trump. Look it up. Now, what do we have? We have thousands of dead people who voted for Joe Biden. Okay. So, once again, happens every cycle. Now, the people who are failing to believe that, those are the people that I have an issue with. Because you can't deny what has happened. You cannot deny that, I believe it was Michigan, overnight, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Michigan or Wisconsin, overnight, 169,000 ballots came in, and essentially all 169,000 were for Joe Biden. That's never happened before in history. That is, by all the experts, not my opinion, the experts who, they break down elections and they do all that, by their professional opinion, the chances of that happening are slim to none. So, once again, if you're on the left and someone presents you with that fact, that is a fact, that's not speculation, because the voting agency has determined that 169,000 votes came in overnight, and all of them were for Joe Biden. People said, do you believe that? I find that hard to believe. But that is a fact. I'm not going to sit there and say it didn't happen, because we know it happened, right? They've told us it has happened. That is a cold, hard fact. No one made that number up. 169,000 votes. That's not made up, right? So the people on the right are like, this is crazy, 169,000. How is it all for Joe Biden? And the people on the left are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Easily can happen. 169,000 people, every single one of them voted for Joe Biden. Although it's never happened in human history, whatever. So of course, this is how it goes, right? When it's something that favors the left, they are supportive of it and they dismiss any evidence against it, and the right is going crazy and is against it. And then, like with the Russia collusion, the right was denying all Russia collusion, and the left was saying this is crazy. Here's, there's evidence. Unfortunately, they didn't have any evidence. In that situation, they didn't have any evidence. That was the hard part about them proving that there was Russia collusion, because anything that came forward it was fabricated. Okay? So now we have a situation where the information that's coming in is not fabricated. It's fact. It's coming in. It's hard evidence. And they're saying, well, don't know what to say. So that's troubling as well. Is anything going to be done about it? I don't know. They're saying now Supreme Court Justice in Pennsylvania is saying that all the votes that came in after a certain time need to be recounted. I believe there will be a recount. I don't know how broad the recount will be, but I believe there will be a recount to some degree. And maybe there should be. But one of the things that's interesting is one of these theories, and there's all these conspiracy theorists out there, is that Trump, knowing that this was going to happen, preemptively put these watermarks or these super secret squirrel tracking systems on all the ballots. And they are able to tell the actual location of ballots. So if ballots were thrown in the garbage by the thousands, they'll be able to track them. And this watermark will be able to tell the ballots if they have them, which are they authentic? Okay. Is that true? I don't know. Would I put it past Donald Trump to initiate something like that? No. He's a smart guy. He looks ahead. He's not a billionaire by accident. He looks ahead. He looks not 1 step, 2 steps, but probably 3, 4 steps ahead. So is it beyond belief that he implemented some kind of tracking system because he knew that there was going to be some attempted voter fraud? I believe that. That's not beyond belief. And I think that if he did, I don't know if he's saying this because, Trump's a little bit of a mental, mind game manipulator, right? He wants you to think one thing when he's really going, thinking something else, right? He wants you to think you're going right. He's going right and he's really going left, right? So we don't know if he in fact did this. And we don't know if he did this, when is his aha moment going to be? We don't know, right? Could be weeks, could be months, right? However, it is kind of dicey if he did something along the lines of tracking, watermarking to verify, and now votes start getting recounted, and in the recounting of the votes, it's determined that some of these votes are just fraudulent votes. Then there's going to be a problem, right? Because you can't be on one side and say, if this happens, it's not okay. But then 4 years later, when the same thing happens, but now it's favoring your guy, it's okay, it's fine. That's the definition of a child. That is the definition of adolescence. And that is the definition of probably insanity, right? That's just not how we operate. So long as it favors me, anything goes. However, if that same thing happens and it's against me, no good. You're a crook, you're a fraud, you're a cheat. And I feel like this is like a childish thing. We're going back and forth. You cheated. Okay, well now you cheated. No, we didn't. Well, now, what are we going to find out? I don't know. At the end, people have said, do you think anyone's going to jail? And this is what we all know. We all know that no one is going to jail, right? Because no one ever goes to jail in these things. All these people messaging me saying Biden's whole, crew is going to jail. His family, his wife, his son, everyone's going to... Guess what? No one's going to jail, right? We all know that. We all know no one's going to end up in jail because none of these guys ever end up in jail. They lie, they cheat, they manipulate, and no one ends up in jail. So my answer to those people who are saying, oh, is anyone going to end up in jail? I know my friends on the left who swore to me that by this time, Donald Trump would be in jail. They were willing to bet money that Donald Trump would be in jail by this time. Okay, so who do I think won the election? That's the other question that a lot of people are posing. Who do I think won? I truly think it was probably a close race. The things that throw me off, of course, are the show of support pre-election. Everywhere I went in the country in the weeks leading up to the election, I saw overwhelming support for Donald Trump. Parades, boat parades, the rallies looked like, Mardi Gras. It was crazy. And you almost didn't see any Biden-Harris even lawn signs. So now, were all the people who were truly voting for Biden and Harris hiding in the weeds, not wanting to put a lawn sign out, not wanting to really outwardly support, not going to rallies? So I don't know. That's kind of a hard thing to believe, because if they were willing to go out and vote in the numbers that they voted for Joe Biden, how was the presence of their support pre-election almost non-existent? Very hard to fathom. Now, the other thing that's hard to fathom is that based on everything that came out about Joe Biden with his son, the laptop, China, connection to Russia, all these things, it's very hard to imagine that Joe Biden, by a landslide, got more votes than Barack Obama did in 2008. So when that was and that you can look that up. That's a stone cold fact. Joe Biden received a crazy number of votes above what Barack Obama received in 2008. And Barack Obama got a lot of votes in 2008. So I find that hard to believe. I do find that hard to believe. I find that with the way the country was so divided, I think it would be a close race. But it ended up not being a close race. When you look at the numbers, it wasn't close. It's like Biden, everyone was saying red wave, Trump by a landslide. And now, as more and more of the votes and the numbers come in, it's almost like Biden by a landslide. So when you look at the pre-election support and you look at what you saw with your own eyes publicly, like I said, with all the rallies and the parades everywhere across the country, and you didn't see anything like that for Joe Biden. Nothing like that for Joe Biden. How can essentially Joe Biden win by a landslide? Not by a little. He didn't edge Trump out, but essentially he's blown Trump away to the degree that's greater than what Barack Obama got in 2008. Guys, listen, I'm all for fairness, and I don't care who wins. Hey, listen, if Joe Biden won fair and square, so be it. If Trump won again, so be it. I don't care, right? Because all the people who 4 years ago were screaming and crying and yelling at the sky in the middle of the street because Trump won, guess what? Today, almost 4 years later, they're fine. They're still working. They still got their life. They still got their health. If they were gay, they got married. If they were transgender, they got their surgery. Nothing changed, right? In fact, there were some maybe tax things that changed, but other than that, right, we all end up okay. All the Republicans made it through with 8 years of Barack Obama and no one died, okay? And all the Democrats made it through with 4 years almost of Donald Trump and no one died. My one friend who's a Democrat, he's a doctor. He makes $500,000 a year, and in the last 4 years, he bought a bigger house, he bought a nicer car, a car that I'll probably never drive, and has taken trip pre-COVID, took all these crazy trips. And he was the guy who was saying that Donald Trump gets elected, the world is going to end. The guy has made more money, bought a bigger home, fancier cars, and has traveled across the world pre-COVID under Donald Trump's reign. So I know a lot of people who were Democrats that said the world was going to end with Donald Trump being elected president. And I got to tell you, I don't see their world ending. In fact, a lot of them, from the outside looking in, are doing better. 4 years has gone by. They're making more money. They're doing better. It didn't affect them. What happened, who got elected, didn't affect them. And the same thing happened under Obama. And the same thing happened under Bush. And if Joe Biden ends up being the winner after all this is said and done, guess what? Life will go on. The people on the right that are screaming and crying, fraud, this is that, this, that. Listen, life will go on. As long as you have your health, as long as you have your family, you have your job, right? So stop crying. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. If you want to make it the end of the world, sure, go ahead. All the people on the right. Hey, what happened while Obama was president? Did you die? Did you fall into a pit of despair? No, most of my friends on the right, during that 8 years, they did fine. They did great. They did all right. They didn't die. So just keep that in mind, to keep your mind about you. Keep your wits about you. Be sensible. Be reasonable. To think, oh, it's over, Biden. Oh, no, it's really Harris. Well, that's like the other thing people are crying about. Oh, it's really Harris. Biden's going to end up dead, or they're going to deem him dementia, and Harris is going to slide in. Okay, maybe so. Maybe so. So she slides in for 3 years, and guess what? And then now 3 years, another 3 years go by, and then we have another election. And there'll be another fraud. And then this time the Republicans will come in and swoop in and push her out. Whatever might happen. It all goes, right? It's always ebb and flow. So just keep that in mind. This too will pass. I know there's a bunch of lawsuits filed by the Trump camp, and they are pushing for recounts and confirmation of votes, as they should. Anyone who has a problem with that, on the left, anyone who has a problem with that, you guys just spent 3 years trying to determine Russian interference. 3 years, and God knows how many millions and millions of taxpayer dollars were spent trying to determine that Donald Trump had Russian interference during the election. 3 years. What was that? Nancy Pelosi took money from Social Security to help fund that investigation, right? No one knows that, right? No one knows that. No one talks about that. So we all paid for that 3.5 year witch hunt that ended. Let me not call it a witch hunt, because they truly felt that that was what happened, and they went after it. And now 3+ years later, they found out there was nothing. Zero evidence. Zero, nothing. Okay. So now, today, those on the left can't get upset when those on the right are going to launch their investigation. You had your time, 3 years, millions of taxpayer dollars to do your investigation. Only fair is fair. Fair is fair. Now, the people on the right get to do their investigation. And once again, the taxpayers, you and I, will probably pay for it. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But we have no control. We just got to sit back and let the legal system do its job. Let the lawyers do their job, and let the evidence come out. So right now, as people start digging, there's either going to be a massive cover-up to try to cover tracks, or There's going to be massive whistleblowers who are going to come out as whistleblowers to cover themselves, CYA. And you're going to have a lot of people yapping, a lot of people talking to the feds. If they were in fact guilty and they were involved in something, everyone's going to talk to make a deal. Because when all this shady stuff happens, you know for sure that there's always those people that come out and they don't want to get burned, they don't want to go down, they don't want to go to jail, so they start talking. So we just got to wait it out and see. Is it going to take a few weeks? Probably. Maybe a couple of months? Probably. But I'll tell you what, if in the next couple of months they find out that there was some major fraud by the Democratic Party here that led to the Biden victory, that is going to be a stain on this country's history. That is, as Americans, I don't care where you stand on the left or the right, if they find out that any of this stuff that's floating around right now, that they're saying there's evidence of fraud and Trump has his, his hidden, tactics that he put in place, which he's a smart guy. I believe he probably did do something to track it. If that all comes out and they determine this fraud, we all as Americans, left, right, Democrat, Republican, Independent, we all should be embarrassed. We're not living in some third world country. This is the United States of America. And if that is happening, if it did happen, we all suffer. We should all be ashamed. Because that is not acceptable to me, and it should not be acceptable to you to happen in your country. I don't care if you love Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and you wanted them to win. You should want them to win justly. And if you truly just went out and you voted for Biden because that's who you wanted to win, and you come to find out that there was some major fraud by the Democratic Party to push him to victory, you should be upset. You shouldn't be happy, because if you are happy, that means you're a hypocrite, because you were probably upset with the Russian collusion with Trump. And that's what children do. That's what children do. You could have this toy. Great, I got this toy. Well, now it's time to give that toy over here. Now I'm going to cry and scream. No, I want the toy. Well, you got to share it. It's what children do. So let's sit back and see what happens. And those on the right, if it comes out that there wasn't fraud and everything's on the up and up, suck it up. The other guy won. And now you wait 4 years for another crack at it. So long as they won fair and square. Right? But as we know with politics, that's not always the case. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Leave a comment below on who you think won. And if any of you have your links to hard evidence, whether it's fraud, whether it's collusion, Russia, China, whatever, go ahead and leave a comment below. But I invite you to post a link, because it's very easy to just say, oh, this is fraud. Post a link. This is the age of Google and the interwebs. If you're going to make a statement, back it up with the story, a link to a reputable source where we could verify what you're saying. Otherwise, your comment means nothing, and your comment will just be deleted. Okay? So, let's see what we come up with. And we'll go from there. Hopefully, the true winner comes out, in a short amount of time so the country can move forward. That's all I hope. That's all I hope, is that the true winner comes out and this doesn't drag on and further divide this country, because we had enough division coming up to this. And by the way, we had division under Obama. We had some horrible racial division under Obama. People just seem to forget that, right? People forget. Unarmed black men were killed by the police under Obama. Let's not forget. So let's wait for this to come out. And let's see. Either way, I hope that as an American, and you as Americans, and for those of you watching internationally, you don't want this to happen in your country either. But I hope that what is being said right now about this voter fraud, I hope it's not true. It'll be a sad day for our country. Very sad day. And we'll see. Hopefully the just and the best candidate won. Thank you all for watching. If you guys want to throw your comment below of who you feel won in support of your candidate, go ahead and throw that below. Either way, like you said, any way you like, any way you want to see it. Biden, Harris, Trump, Pence. Comment below, show your support. May the best person win. God bless. Be safe. We'll see you next time. Oh, and I don't, is like coronavirus over now? That like all this, it's like, oh, like the hand washing, the mask, is that going to go away if Biden won? Or I don't know. Okay.